Well, Skype co-founder Niklas Zennstrom is one of the more prolific tech innovators outside of Silicon Valley. He's made a business out of disrupting established industries by launching music sharing service Kazaa and later changing how people use the phone with Skype, which is a business that eBay acquired for over $3 billion. I spoke with Zennstrom at the Dublin Web Summit this weekend and asked him how, as a creator, he knew that eBay's Meg Whitman was the right buyer.
First of all, I believe that companies should not get sold, they should get acquired. Because if you're an entrepreneur and say, I'm going to build this company, in my exit strategy I'm going to sell to that company, then likelihood that you're going to be successful is much lower than you say, here's a market, I'm going to go out and change that market, I'm going to build a great company for the customers in this market. And if you do that, then you are more likely to be acquired. Beginning of 2005, we had 20 million users, which was a lot. But then we heard that Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, AOL were all going to go out and compete with us. And they already had customer bases of 100, 200 million users. So we thought, we maybe we get too much competition, they may crush us, we don't know. So at the same time, all of the companies started to look into buy or acquire. So then all of a sudden you have several companies being interested in what you're doing, and there's a big demand. And then you have to take away your entrepreneur hat and put on your shareholder hat and say, what's the right thing for all the shareholders?
Can't you, imagine changing of the hat, that can be quite emotional and uncomfortable when you've created the business from the start there. How do you do that? Does it require bringing in the new blood, the MBAs and the guys who are just going to strictly think strategically and not be as emotionally invested?
We had put all our savings, everything we had into the company. We didn't have, didn't have a car and didn't, rent a small rental apartment, didn't have much cash whatsoever. So having cash now compared to, cash in 3 years is a different thing as well. So. But it's a very, very hard emotional thing to go through. And basically we went through back and forth, should we do it, should we not do it? And then we had a 5-day period where we said, yes, let's do it. And then we said, let's do it and let's not look back.
Talk to me about the choice of when to, in going through the genesis of building a business, when you make that choice to not just sell a business, but to hand it to the public markets. How do you make that decision to take that next step?
Many times when a company is public, there's a risk that you become, that you're starting following, the demands of the market and making very short-term decisions. So I think it's very, very important for any company being, if you go public, you should not do it too early. And if you do it, you need to make sure that you're managing the company for the long run rather than being too short-term focused.
Talk to me about some of the changes in the environment on more the financial side. In the United States, there's a tremendous debate about taxes and job creation and the impact. And then in the UK, you're also staring this down, particularly as it involves capital gains, private equity, those sources of financing to start up new businesses. What is going to be the impact to see those carried interest, capital gains taxes go up in the US and the UK?
If you get the regulations that we have to do a lot of reporting on a company that you started, it just becomes a lot of administrative burdens for something that doesn't really have any good impact. So there's always a risk with those kind of regulations. But also what you have to recognize is that startup companies and entrepreneurs are highly portable, highly mobile. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't like the regulation in your country, you're probably likely to pick up your bags and move to another country.
What is it like trying to fundraise in this environment? What is it like when you look at backing up a business and considering your exit strategy or looking at the level of capital that's needed to be raised up front?
So interesting enough that the recession has had a very little impact on tech companies. It has had an impact on tech companies which are relying on advertisement revenues because the advertisement kind of market kind of disappeared. And it seems now is slowly coming back. But it hasn't been a dry up in terms of entrepreneurs starting new companies. We've seen a good stream of companies throughout the recession. And because, I think if you're an entrepreneur, you have an idea, you see something, you don't care if the stock market is up or down, you just do it.
What's a realistic horizon then?
I think you need to look at, up to 7 years or something. I mentioned some of these, home run success stories, and there are a few of those, but they're kind of quite rare.